Greetings to all. We will discuss on skill development schemes Government of India. As we know, skill development is the method of detecting skill gaps and improving these skills. It helps in improving the ability of human being to perform a job related activity which contributes to the effective performance of a task. Skill development is globally considered as key for productive employment. Hence, it is an important means for increased productivity, private sector development, inclusive economic growth, and poverty reduction. Economic diversification and structural change towards high productivity sectors is necessary for combating poverty in a sustainable way. This requires a better skilled and more adaptable labor force which can spur domestic and foreign investment. Linking skill development to broader education and employment, growth and development strategies and system is essential to ensure relevance, policy coherence, coordination and alignment. Skill development is an important driver to address poverty reduction by improving employability, productivity, and helping sustainable enterprise development and inclusive growth. We all know India is facing a paradoxical situation where, on the one hand, youth entering the labor market have no jobs. On the other hand, industries are complaining of unavailability of appropriately skilled manpower. The employment sector in India poses greater challenge in terms of its structure, which is dominated by informal workers, high level of underemployment, skill shortages and labor markets with rigid labor laws and institutions. C. This is to be kept in mind that skill development as an integral part of lifelong learning. Lifelong learning takes on a broader approach than education. It is the organizing principle putting adequate integrated and system policy and practice into place for social transformation within a framework of sustainable development. In an education system that provides opportunities for lifelong learning, policy and practice provide every individual and community with a flexible and diversified range of useful learning and training options throughout his or her lifetime, context specific. A skill development strategy as an integral component of a nation education system for lifelong learning successfully links skill to productivity and employment creation while at the same time coping with all life situations, example, work, active citizenship and family life, etc. Individuals will value different personal development skills depending on their goals, but here are some examples of skill people commonly practice to facilitate personal growth. It could be communication, it could be interpersonal, organization, problem solving, self-confidence, adaptability, integrity, work ethics, and so on. So we can say that, of course, skill development is a vital tool to empower people to safeguard their future and for the overall development of an individual. Skills are as essential as one's academic status. Education and skill should now go hand in hand. They are the roots behind the economic growth and community development of a country. Skill development is very important for a country, and the reason behind it that skill and knowledge development are the driving forces behind the financial growth and community development of any country. Skill building is a powerful tool to empower individuals and improve their social acceptance. This skill development program was launched by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji on 15 July 2015 Skill India Mission that aims to train over 40 crore people in India in different skills by 2022. The mission aims at vocational training and certification of Indian youth for a better livelihood and respect in the society. So here we can understand that why is skill development important for students. In everyday life, the development of life skills help students to find new ways of thinking and problem solving, recognize the impact of their actions, and teaches them to take responsibility for what they do rather than blame others. Build confidence both in spoken English and for group collaboration and cooperation. One needs a comprehensive skill set composed of cognitive skills, social emotional skills, technical skills, and digital skills. C. The development of skills can contribute to structural transformation and economic growth by enhancing employability and labor productivity and helping countries to become more competitive. Investment in a high quality workforce can create a virtuous cycle where relevant and quality skills enable productivity growth and foreign direct investment, which result in more and better jobs for the current workforce and more public and private investment in the education and training system. This in turn increases the employability and productivity for both the current and future workforce. Yet, most countries continue to struggle in delivering on the promise of skill development. Skill development and vocational training programs are conceptualized, executed, and monitored by various organizations working closely with the Government of India. There are various plans and schemes that are dedicated to achieve scalable skilling with quality and higher productivity, particularly in the unorganized or informal sector, which accounts for 83% of India's workforce. Skill development is speedily gaining importance in the present scenario, and it is clear that education and skills are fundamental to improve employment opportunities, shrink poverty, boost productivity, and promote environmentally sustainable development in rural areas. It is urgently needed to assimilate skill development into rural development policies and strategies such as agricultural policies and private sector development and entrepreneurship policies. It is essential that in education system, skill-based training should be incorporated with placement facility to link trainee with industries. Of course, skill development is need of the hour, which would facilitate the workforce to adapt and match the new requirements for youth in rural India, which results in rural development. It is only through an inclusive rural development agenda that sustainable human progress is possible. Thus, education and skill development is an urgent and important requirement for developing countries, in particular for countries with large youth population such as India. Skill India, or the National Skill Development Mission of India, is a campaign launched by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. It is managed by the National Skill Development Corporation India. Various initiatives under this campaign are National Skill Development Mission, National Policy for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, Pradhanmantri Yojna, Skill Loan Scheme, and Rural India Skill. Various government schemes for skill development can be seen, such as the first Indian Institute of Skill is being established at Kanpur by the Union Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship in partnership with the Institute of Technical Education, Singapore. Inspired by the Singapore model of training, the Indian Institute of Skill plan to adopt various best practices across the country. Sector Skill Council have been set up as autonomous industry-led bodies by NSDC. They create occupational standards and qualification bodies, develop competency framework, conduct train-the-trainer programs, conduct skill gap studies, and assess and certify trainees on the curriculum aligned to national occupational standards developed by them. NSDC has 38 sector skill councils, which are known as SSCs, approved in services, manufacturing, agriculture and allied services, and informal sectors. To meet the aspirations of ITI qualified candidates for attaining higher academic qualifications, Director General of Training, MSDE, and National Institute of Open Schooling, NIOS, have signed an agreement and launched dual system of training and space-based distance learning program for MSDE. Through these programs, a large number of students located at various ITIs, including remote locations across the country, can access the lectures of resource persons, thus creating a virtual classrooms. Sankalp, which is known as Skill Acquisition and Knowledge Awareness for Livelihood Promotion, launched by MSDE. And the main objective of this project include strengthening institutional mechanism at both national and state level, building a pool of quality trainers and assessors, creating convergence among all skill training activities at the state level, establishing robust monitoring and evaluation system for skill training programs. Next scheme is apprentice training. An apprentice is a person who is undergoing apprenticeship training. and this training refers to a course of training in an industry or establishment. This training consists of basic training and practical on the job training at actual workplace. Any individual who has completed 14 years of age, is physically fit and having minimum educational qualification prescribed for a trade can undergo apprenticeship training. So what could be the benefits of apprenticeship training? Apprentices get an opportunity of undergoing on-the-job training and are exposed to real working conditions. They get a chance to work on advanced machines and equipment, industry-specific best practices, and learn more about their field. Apprentices become skilled workers once they have acquired the knowledge and skills in a trade or occupation, which help them in getting wage or self-employment. In addition, apprentices get a stipend at the prescribed rate during the training. One can undergo apprenticeship training in any industry, establishment in the central, state public sector or private sector where apprenticeship seats are available. In the series of skill development, another scheme is Craftsman Training Scheme, which is very popular. The institutes are required to conduct training courses as per the curriculum prescribed by National Council for Vocational Training. The admission to the new courses are made in the month of August every year. The trainees after completion of the training period are required to appear in the All India Trade Test conducted under the aegis of National Council for Vocational Training. The successful trainees are awarded National Trade Certificate, which has been recognized by Government of India for the purpose of recruitment to subordinate posts and services under the central government. About 70% of the training period is allotted to practical training and the rest to theoretical training related to trade theory. Next is Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojna. As per census 2011, India has 55 million potential workers between the ages of 15 and 35 years in rural areas. At the same time, the world is expected to face a shortage of 57 million workers by 2020. This presents a historic opportunity for India to transform its demographic surplus into a demographic dividend. The Ministry of Rural Development implements Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushal Yojna to drive this national agenda for inclusive growth by developing skills and productive capacity of rural youth from poor families. The scheme follows a three-tier implementation model, and there are several challenges preventing India's rural poor from competing in the modern market, such as the lack of formal education and marketable skills. So this scheme bridges this gap by funding training projects benchmarked to global standards with an emphasis on placement, retention, career progression and foreign placement. This scheme provides funding support for placement-linked skilling projects that address the market demand with funding support ranging from rupees 25,696 to over rupees 1 lakh per person. And of course, depending on the duration of the project, whether the project is residential or non-residential. Another important scheme is financial assistance for skill training of persons with disabilities. This scheme aims at providing financial assistance for skill training for persons with disabilities, and the scheme will cover persons with disabilities with not less than 40% disability and having a disability certificate to this effect issued by a competent medical authority. The scheme will operate through training institutions recognized by this department as per the eligibility conditions contained in this scheme. Another scheme is Green Skill Development Program, which is launched by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and is an important initiative for skill development in the environment and forest sector to enable India's youth to get gainful employment or self-employment. Of course, this program endeavors to develop green skilled workers having technical knowledge and commitment to sustainable development. And this scheme will definitely help in the attainment of nationally determined contribution, sustainable development goals, national biodiversity targets, as well as waste management rules. Another scheme in this context is Pradhanmantri Kendra. Vocational training needs to be made aspirational to transform India into the skill capital of the world. In line with the same, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship intends to establish visible and aspirational model training centers in every district of the country. NSDC is the implementation agency for the project. These training centers will be state-of-the-art model training centers called as Pradhanmantri Kendra. Various objectives of this scheme are: number 1, create benchmark institutions that demonstrate aspirational value for competency-based skill development training. Focus on elements of quality, sustainability, and connection with the stakeholder in skill delivery process. Transform from a mandate-driven footloose model to a sustainable institutional model. Capacity building scheme. Under convergence policy of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSDE, now Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship is implementing capacity building programs. And the scheme aims to provide employable and entrepreneurship skills, competencies to facilitate employment for youth from the region. UDAN, which is a familiar scheme, the Special Industry Initiative for Jammu and Kashmir, is funded by Ministry of Home Affairs and implemented by National Skill Development Corporation, which is known as NSDC. The program is a part of the overall initiative for addressing economic issues in J&K. UDAN program is a special initiative to address the needs of the educated unemployed in J&K. And an UDAN program is focused on youth of Jammu and Kashmir who are graduate, postgraduate and 3-year diploma engineers. UDAN provides a framework of support to the youth to travel, undergo training in firms and transit to work. So various objectives of these schemes are to provide exposure to the graduates and postgraduates of Jammu and Kashmir to the best of the corporates India, to provide corporate India with exposure to the rich talent pool available in the state. Next scheme in this series is IISC, which is known as India International Skill Center. Government of India is keen to bridge the global shortage of labor force in the coming years by reaping the demographic dividend of young Indian labor force. To meet this objective, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship under the Skill India mission has set up India International Skill Center to provide skill trainings and certification benchmarks to international standards. In the pilot phase, ISCs were set up through the National Skill Development Corporation and implemented the Pradhanmantri Yojna and Pravasi Yojna for youth seeking a global mobility for jobs. As part of ISC program, both domain skilling training or international standards and pre-departure orientation training programs are imparted to candidates. So, in conclusive form, it can be said that it is the need of the hour. As we know, the employment landscape is rapidly changing and new jobs are emerging with fast disruption in business models around the globe. Skills required today as well as job markets are markedly different from those 10 or even 5 years ago. The speed with which these changes are taking place is bound to accelerate. Therefore, the need of the hour is to build a skilling system which would enable the workforce to adapt and match the new requirements, a system that responds well to business needs and also provides new opportunities for all. In order to reap benefit of demographic dividend resulting in increased productivity, employment and development of economy, the following measures are required to be taken care. Connecting basic education to technical training to labor market entry, and labor market entry to workplace and continuous learning in the domain. Ensuring continuous communication between industries and training providers so that training meets the needs and aspirations of workers and enterprises. Information dissemination towards placement of skilled labor force. Thrust for entrepreneurship development among rural youth. Integrating skill development policies with other policy areas, not only labor market and social protection policies, but also industrial, investment, trade and technology policies, and regional or local development policies. Building and sustainable competencies for future rural labor market needs. So, in a conclusive form, we can say that these policies which are set up by the Government of India are very, very much required in order to provide a perfect skill set to budding entrepreneurs. Thank you.